Welcome back to When Life Gives You Lemons. I'm your host, Anna, your Gen X coach. Today, I want to dive into one of the most critical periods of our lives, the years between 0 and 7 years old. This window of time shapes so much of who we become, not just in personality, but in the very beliefs and patterns that run beneath the surface. Here's why this period matters so much. From birth to around age 7, we mostly operate in a theta brainwave state. That's the same state accessed in deep meditation, hypnosis, or subconscious reprogramming techniques like theta healing. When we are in theta, our critical filter, the part of that us that questions, evaluates, and challenges, hasn't fully formed yet. That means everything we experience, especially emotionally charged moments, gets recorded directly into the unconscious mind, like software being installed with our awareness. We're forming beliefs not just from what people tell us, but from how they behave around us, how they treat us, and how we interpret those events with a child's mind. This theta dominant state makes children natural sponges, highly suggestible, deeply sensitive, and neurological primed for imprinting. Let me give you a few examples from my own story. These aren't just memories. They're moments where beliefs were formed, where identity was shaped. When I was 3 years old, I started school. At the same time, my baby sister was born. I think now that maybe I craved connection at school because I didn't have someone my age at home to talk. Naturally, I talked to the other kids. I wanted to share, to play, to belong. But the adults in charge, nuns and teachers, saw that differently. Talking was disruptive. It broke the rules. So I was punished again and again, sent to the corner, made to face a brick wall. I remember still the texture of those bricks, the smell of the room, and the sting of tears on my cheeks. And in that moment, a belief was formed. Speaking up gets you in trouble. Later, when my talking didn't stop, they placed me in a small desk beside the teacher. No interaction, just silence. Another belief planted. If I connect with others, I'll be isolated. It didn't stop there. In primary school, I was a new kid, slightly chubby, not obese, but just different. And I became the target. Bullying followed, mockery, name calling, and I began to withdraw. I sat alone, watching the other kids play. I remember one day clearly. I was sitting with a muffin, just eating it during my break. A teacher came up, looked at the crumbs in my sweater, and said, "You're so messy, so dirty." That might not sound huge to an adult, but to a 6-year-old in theta, it landed as, "There's something wrong with me. I should be ashamed." Then there was a time, yes, this really happened, that a teacher tied me to my desk. I had been talking again, and she used the same little rope she used on another child who, looking back now, probably had ADHD. I wasn't hyperactive. I was just expressive, curious, alive, but that didn't matter. And when they tied me down and called the principal, I felt a deep rage. I thought, I'm not that bad. Why is this happening? Another imprint. I'm powerless, and my voice is dangerous. These weren't just isolated events. They were the beginning of a pattern. Because as I grew up, those same feelings followed me into adulthood. I found myself working in places with bossy, controlling figures, people who echoed those teachers. And once again, I felt trapped. Silence, like my hands were tied. It wasn't until I started deep healing work, hypnosis, therapy, breath work, that I realized I was still listening to those early formed beliefs. beliefs that had shaped my nervous system, my identity, my responses to life. That's the power of the unconscious mind. That's the power of the brain in theta. And that's why it's so important to go back, not just to remember, but to reprogram. This brings me to a critical point. Your inner child is not just a memory, it's one of the voices in your mind. It speaks up in moments of fear, shame, or doubt. It's a voice that says, be quiet, or don't stand out, or you're not good enough. But here's the thing, you're not that child anymore. You're the adult now. You have the tools, the consciousness, and the power to rewrite the story. You can go back, meet the younger self with compassion, and say, I love you, I see you, and I've got you now. And from the neuroscience perspective, this isn't just poetic, it's literal. When you revisit an emotional memory in a safe, regulated state and attach a new meaning to it or release that emotion, you change the neural wiring. You create a new neural network or belief. You shift the emotional charge. You liberate yourself. So what are the top key takeaways from all of this? Number 1, the 0 to 7 period is foundational. Your brain is in theta. You're downloading beliefs from experiences and emotions, not logic or words. Number 2, beliefs aren't just thoughts. They are neurological circuits, patterns you live out, often unconsciously. 3, healing is possible through awareness, somatic work, brainwave techniques, and inner child dialogue. You can rewire the brain and release old programming. Number 4, your inner child is alive within you. It's not a metaphor. It's a part of your internal system. When you identify the voice of the child and parent it with compassion, you stop the cycle. You become free. I carried the anger and shame from those years for a long time. And it wasn't until I faced it, processed it, and met my inner child with love that I began to feel whole again. I now speak not just for her, but with her. I invite you to look at your own broken record patterns, the ones that repeat in relationships, at work, in your body, in your thoughts. Trace them. Ask, when did I first feel this? You might be surprised how far back they go. And if you feel called to explore more, follow this podcast or connect with me on social media. Because the real magic, it starts when we stop running from our past and start listening to it with new ears and release it. Thank you for being here. Your healing matters.